Hello, my name is Jonathan Harris from Worldwide Camera Exchange. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? This is a press camera from the late 1940s, early 1950s. Press cameras were used by press photographers through the 20s, 30s, 40s and all the way into the 1950s, and were of course replaced in the late 1950s by 35mm SLRs. Both Nikon and Canon and Leica, of course, introduced their 35mm cameras. They were smaller, they were lighter, they were more convenient, and ultimately they saw the absolute demise of the press camera. These in turn, of course, were replaced by the digital SLR cameras, which in turn, as we speak, have been killed off by the modern mirrorless full-frame digital cameras. But I've got a question. Is this camera really better than this camera? You may think yes, but if you take time and you think about it, and you think about what these cameras can both do, it's not such a straightforward question. In many respects, this camera, it could be argued, is better. In fact, there are things this camera will do that the modern cameras won't do. Okay, so what does this do that is so great? Of course, the autofocus is spot on, it's fast, it'll focus on anything you like. The exposure, incredibly quick, incredibly fast. Lens choice, unbelievable with modern cameras. I mean, this is a 24-70, which is nothing. You can go from almost anything to almost anything else and change the lenses in a fraction of a second. And all of that image is captured on a big full-frame digital sensor in the back. Now, that's hard to beat. This, on the other hand, it isn't autofocus. You can focus it manually. It's just not as quick. The lenses on this camera are interchangeable. You can't change them quite so quickly, and of course you don't get the vast focal length range that you get with modern cameras, but you can put different lenses on these cameras. And one advantage these cameras have is that these lenses are very simple. And simple lenses are very sharp lenses. If you looked at the results from these lenses, even the non-multi-coated lenses, you'll be surprised how actually good they are. Not quite as good as modern lenses, but really not far off. I mentioned something that this camera has that modern cameras don't have. You can move the focus plane on this camera. You can shift the lens up and down. This effectively is a camera with a built-in shift lens. Modern cameras don't have that. So there is an advantage with that. Of course, most photographers don't need it, but it's a feature that this camera has that modern stuff doesn't have. And the image capture on this camera, it's captured on 6x9cm film. I'll say that again. It's 6x9cm, 60mm by 90mm. This is 24mm by 36mm. The image capture area on this is over 6 times greater. Of course, the lenses aren't as good, but if you combine these very simple lenses, which are actually a lot better than most people will imagine, and the big 6.9cm negative, you'll be astonished how good the results from these cameras are. So what does this, in summary, have over this? And in fact, it's speed. All the modern camera gives you, all cameras like the Z6 and the Z7s and whatever give you, are speed. And if speed is what you need, or of course if you need the really long telephotos or the really wide angles, then of course you have no choice but to buy a modern camera. But if you don't need the speed and if you don't need the huge range of lenses, then a camera like this will perform every bit as well as a modern camera. Why am I talking about this? Well, I think it's important when you buy equipment to really establish, particularly if you're looking to upgrade your cameras, if you need those extra megapixels, if you need that bit more speed that the modern cameras offer. And if you don't, maybe you should invest the money somewhere else. You can invest the money buying more lenses. That'll certainly improve your photography. You know, a few extra megapixels will not improve your photography. You can maybe even look at investing in different cameras. You could buy an old film camera. These really slow you down, and they really teach you about photography. That will absolutely improve your photography. Whereas upgrading from a Z whatever to a Z whatever plus one, that really won't improve your photography in many cases. It's certainly worth thinking about. See you again. Bye-bye.